Hello, friends. I recently read Inharmonious by Tammy Huf, and I give this book a 5 out of 5. This has to easily be one of my top favorite books of the year. So, I am Camille Claiborne, the moderator for the Lincoln University Alumni and Friends Book Club, and your favorite book club moderator. And for the month of August, we read Inharmonious by Tammy Huf, and I really enjoyed this book. This book was a mix of historical fiction with just a little bit of romance. The book actually ends up following five young African Americans in the 1940s who were living in the state of Florida. Four of them actually end up enlisting in the military during World War II, and they have vastly different experiences in the military. One is actually forced to pass as white. One of them dies almost immediately after enlisting. One of them experiences like what it's like to be in an integrated setting, right? And another one endures quite a bit of racism within the military. Um, so let me just say this: they all were very willing to enlist, right? Only one of them is drafted. Only one of them is drafted. The other three willingly enlist in the military. And they do that in a way because they think that their military service will help them be more American and will advance their social status. And what they find is, that's not the case at all. So the stage is set. The main character, Lee, who is an African American soldier, he is part of an all African American battalion who finally, their battalion finally gets to see actual combat. Previously, their battalion was more in servitorial roles for the white soldiers, but through much protest, they were finally able to see actual combat. So the quote goes, they would go out there and fight for themselves, for the folks back at home, for the future. Experienced quite a bit of racism within the military, and then upon returning home, um, almost immediately, they are they bear witness to how African American males at this time are treated once they return home from, I mean, they're on the bus, on the train, and they are in their full military regalia and being discriminated against and mistreated. Um, so I wanted to share with you a passage um, from the book regarding this experience. Then one of the main characters, Benny, who had been passing while serving in the military, now is headed back home. And he is on a train that is leaving New York City with other soldiers, and they are headed south. And at this point, he's not sure if he will continue to pass or if he will return to his life as an African American. When they got to the South, the conductors came through the cars to make the Negro passengers move to a segregated section. Benny's skin prickled and tingled as the conductor passed him by, only to stop further along in the train to tell a deep ebony man it was time for him to move back. We've crossed the Mason Dixon, he said. You've got to get to your place. So Tammy Huff did a great job with her characters. They all are vastly different, have different experiences. So one is actually forced to pass while he is enlisted, and once he comes home, he has a difficult decision to make. Does he want to continue to live as a white man, or does he want to return to his family and live as a black person? And I think that you almost are tempted to judge his decision to continue to pass. And what I think is good is you see how the other characters are treated who have no choice but to live as Black people once they leave the military. I mean, they're all the Black soldiers are denied their GI benefits, they are discriminated against, where the one who passes, he is able to access all of his GI benefits and he's able to, you know, gain further education, get housing loans. So you understand his dilemma and not maybe wanting to identify as African American is almost signing up for this difficult life. Um, so he does continue to kind of um, his pursuit of white identity. So, a brief passage about that. While Benny is able to continue to pass as white and receive GI benefits, his friends and his sister, who is married to a soldier, they are not able to receive their GI benefits. And so they do try to pursue legal action in hopes that they'll be able to buy a home with their benefits. And so this passage is related to that because their lawsuit gets media attention. And local Florida reporters are saying some pretty nasty things, accusing Black people of being lazy and just not taking advantage of those those GI opportunities or benefits, without acknowledging the fact that they're being denied those benefits. And so Lee, which is another main character in the story, who was a former serviceman, says this to the reporters in response to their questioning about Black people being lazy and not taking advantage of their benefits. The Negro is not too lazy, he is too naive for thinking that bleeding and dying for America will get this country to treat us with the respect and decency that's our God given right, declared in the Declaration of Independence and promised in the Constitution. And I think it was good how to see the characters and how they both had such different experiences based on race. So outside of all the racism and military service, there's love stories. So all of the characters experience love and have a love story, and but the love stories have complications, and it begs the question: Can you really be in a relationship and in love with someone and not be completely honest about who you are? Because they're all concealing something from their partner. They're all sort of like living a bit of a lie, right? And each of them is having difficulty with being honest with the people whom they love. And it's a complicated situation, right? Because can the one guy admit that he's Black and not really white? What could that mean for him if he does admit it and she rejects him? Or, the one is actually married, but he falls in love with someone. So can he really tell this young woman that he's actually married? So it's a very difficult situation. Um, and I think Tammy Huff gives you, um, she really develops her characters well and tells a great story. So I think that if you have the time, you should check out Inharmonious by Tammy Huff. I'm almost positive you will like this book as much as I did. Happy reading, friends.